Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Broship of the Nerds. As you have seen, my co host and brother on camera, one of my good friends, Jack, is in the hospital and he is dealing with ongoing medical conditions. So, I am going to do a video tonight that is the films that I saw in 2023. But before we get into that, I would like to say well wishes to you, Jack. I hope you get better. Everybody, let's give him a thumbs up and well wishes because he needs it and he deserves it. Good person. I hope you make a full recovery. We wish you the best. Here at the Broship. With that being said, we are going to get into today's video 2023 movies that I saw in theaters. Now, I saw 13 movies in theaters in 2023. I know, not a lot, but given schedules and everything going on, it's still a pretty good amount. These are in no particular order. So, up first is Oppenheimer. This was the Christopher Nolan directed film, and I will say I enjoyed it. I went with some friends, and at first I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it, but as it gets further and further in, I really like the characters that are portrayed and how perception's not always what you think it is, as some characters kind of change throughout the film. This is one I think is worth watching because it is great. It is long. Don't get me wrong, it is a very long film. Is it one I will buy for my personal collection? No, not because it's bad. It's a great film, but because it is just not my style of film that I would rewatch. I'm more into the edgy, funny, darker kind of things. So this isn't one that I would buy for my own collection, but I enjoy it. It was a great film. I think you guys should see it. Robert Downey Jr. as the villain was great, and the lead actor was amazing as well. So kudos to the cast on this. They played their roles brilliantly. And Oppenheimer, man, you know, creating the atomic bomb and the devastation it had, I'm sure changed his life. And we got to see that on screen. It was really cool to see that happen. But this was a very good drama film. I think it is worth watching at least once. You learned a lot about science and the events that led up to the atomic bomb, the creation and everything. So it was worth watching once. So I will say good film, not one I'll buy, but good. Next up, we have Insidious: The Red Door. I bought this. I have a friend of mine that I've seen all the Insidious films with. We've made it kind of our thing that whenever Insidious comes out, we'll go see it together. And if they end it after this one, I'm okay with that. I feel like they left it open that they could make another one, but they could end it. What I like about this series is we're not getting a film every year. They spread out the releases. So they've never rushed this series to where you're getting a film a year, so I appreciate them more because of that. This was a really good film. I got a little poster from it, so I'm very happy to go in person to sometimes bigger theaters. I like small local theaters, but I also like bigger theaters because you do get the nice freebies like the posters. Enjoyable film. It's one that I would like to have some friends over and watch the whole series together and do like a little marathon of Insidious. They're very good films. This one's pretty good. I enjoyed it, and I will probably give it a rewatch because it was more freaky. And it was funny because my friend and I, we went to see this in theaters. We actually made a bet of how many times people were going to get scared. And I lost in the trailer just about. The previews, there were like four jumps from the audience. So I think I bet like six during the film, and my friend bet eight or more. I bet six or less, and they bet eight or more. They were right. Just four jumps just in the trailers because they showed like the Nun 2 and some other trailers. So pretty fun night. I lost, but hey, it was cool. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, this was a great way to end this group together. We don't know what the future holds as far as like who's going to be paired with who, but as this iteration, this group of Guardians, you care about the characters. You have went through their stories through all these films, including the Avengers films, and I'm a big fan of Star-Lord and Gamora. They're probably my two favorites. Gamora is probably my top female character in the MCU, or one of them at least. I put her at number one for that, probably third or fourth overall in the MCU, and Star-Lord's definitely in top 10. Um, I really appreciated this film. I think the way they did this was a good way to close it all out, and I didn't necessarily enjoy some of the stuff that the with happened with Gamora and Star Lord, but that's okay. Just because I would have went somewhere with something creatively in a different way than what was done doesn't make it a bad movie. It was still a very good movie, and I think one of the highlights of this kind of back and forth Marvel quality we've been having lately, where you'll have a really good film and a poorly executed film. This was one of the high points of the recent MCU films. So I definitely think you need to see this. If you've given up on MCU, at least see this one, I think, because it really was worth seeing. The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. If I didn't keep the ticket or accidentally threw it away, I write down what film I saw. So I saw this on my birthday and I really enjoyed it. And when I was watching the film, I thought, boy, I've already seen this film. What it was, I had read the book, and I remember very few books do I picture so vividly. But when I was watching this film, there was a certain scene where it's exactly how I imagined it when I was reading the book, and they did that perfectly in the film. It's a lot, as my friend was texting me while they were watching it the other day, it's a lot edgier, more primitive, barbaric, because they didn't really have the same. First of all, it was early in the games. This is following Snow before he becomes President Snow whenever he's younger, giving you his backstory. And you have Lucy Gray, who is his the mentee of Snow. And it's more primitive. They don't really give food at first to the tributes, and it's just really barbaric. I enjoyed this film because the characters you care about, right? So Lucy Gray is awesome. Snow, you sort of like him at some points, other times no. And then as the story goes on, it just shows you kind of what happens to him and the reasons as to why. Now the book does go more into depth on certain things, but the way they did this in order worked really well, and they did hit a lot of the important things from the book in the film. Obviously, you can't get everything from a book in a movie because of time constraints. This was still a longer, like 2.5, 220, 2.5 hours, and a great song after the end credits by Olivia Rodrigo that is worth sticking around for, by the way. As soon as I uh, heard that song, I just kept sitting during the credits because I love her music. So, yes, this is a great film. Check it out. A lot of action, great story. Sad too, like what these poor kids being picked, what they go through. But I really enjoy this one. As far as ranking it within the Hunger Games series, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's hard because recency bias is a thing, and I haven't watched the originals for a while. I think I've watched the first one maybe a year or two ago, and I still enjoy that one because I really like Rue in that film. I hate what happened to her, but I really like her character and the Katniss Rue bond. I felt like that could have went a completely different way with the series, where maybe Rue and Katniss survive and just become really good friends, and she watches over her like a little sister. I think Rue, anyways, that's a whole different thing. This was a great film. Highly enjoyed it. The soundtrack was good. The action sequences were great. Uh, so a lot of the scenes, how I pictured them happening, were there, and even the ending. I won't spoil exactly what happens, but it leaves things open in case there are other books, which I hope there are, because it ends on a cliffhanger. That's what I'll say. It does end on a cliffhanger. Next up, we have Gran Turismo. I saw this with a friend of mine. I really enjoy this film. David Harbour, as always, top notch actor. Orlando Bloom in here. Hadn't seen him for a bit and that much stuff. It was nice to see him. I like this concept that you have these drivers who they're gamers, and they want to go to a real car, which David Harbour as the coach is like laughing about it at first, and then they're on to something, as the film goes. But this was really enjoyable. I We went on like a weird day, like maybe it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and I think it might have been later in the run, but my friend and I were the only two in there. But I like racing. I've been around racing a good amount with my family. Um, but watching this film, it has a lot of emotional weight to it as far as like what the characters go through. And I will eventually buy this one. I saw a steelbook, but I ended up upgrading to the Avatar, the first one, steelbook, 4K. So at some point, I do plan on purchasing this for the collection. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to say on the rest of them, my bad. Guardians 3, I'm definitely buying. Insidious I already have. Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snake, I'll definitely get. And Gran Turismo, yes. I would say check it out. If you're a racing fan or if you're a big fan of David Harbour, check it out. It's, once again, he is so consistent with his roles that even if something I think were to be bad that he was in, I would think he would still put on a good performance because he's so believable and he pulls the emotional weight really well, with all of his characters. But in this one, he's really good. Next up, we have Haunted Mansion. Now, this was given to me as a Christmas gift on Blu-ray from a friend of mine, Viper, as you know. We do a little gift exchange, and Haunted Mansion, the new one is a lot different than the original. The original is more comedy. This one is comedy drama. I remember there was a grandma whose grandkid asked to leave because she got scared, and it was, I'll admit, it says PG, 13. It was too dark for like a, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 year old, however old the kid was. But I felt bad because, you're thinking it's okay for kids, but it's darker. And there is some depression and dealing with loss. And the way they handled it, I thought was in good taste. And I really enjoyed this film. It's different than the original, so don't go in thinking it's going to be like a rehash of the original Haunted Mansion. The highlight of the film for me, besides the emotional weight of the main stars, Rosario Dawson's awesome in this, the main star. Names sometimes, if I don't see him in a lot of stuff, don't come to me. But the main star, he was great. Um, Owen Wilson in this one was fantastic. There's something about him that I always enjoy, and I find him very funny and genuine, and he has this charm to him that you get into his characters. So Owen Wilson in this movie just cracks me up, and Danny DeVito, of course, showing up and doing some stuff. Jamie Lee Curtis, like this has a great cast. The only thing I stand by this, they came out with this film at the wrong time. I saw it July 31st. It should have come out during October. I'm sorry, but this should have come out during October. I don't know why they didn't delay it. I think it would have made more money. I think more people would have went to seen it. It was a good film, but I do think it came out at the wrong time. I would say at least watch it. I'm not saying you have to buy this one, but I definitely recommend renting it. Next up, we have Dungeons and Dragons. I saw this April 7th of 23. Um, I'm a big fan of Chris Pine. I think he's a great actor. And when I saw the trailer with like the comedy and stuff with the skeletons when they're in the graveyard, I couldn't stop laughing because of how quick he goes through his questions. Because he asks how many questions you get, and the guy's like, yes, and he forgets that he's asking a question, and before you know it, it's over. And there's a lot of good jokes, a lot of good action, some drama, some heartfelt moments. Like this has a good blend to it. Now, I'll be honest with you, my friends are bigger D&D fans than I am, but I have played and we've had so many funny moments and just so many cool things happen when we played Dungeons and Dragon. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go give this movie a shot based on the cast, the trailer. It intrigued me, and I went and saw this with a friend that's not a D&D fan, and we both highly enjoyed it for different reasons. Some of the references I got, I'm not that far into D&D. I haven't played that much with the group I played, but I knew some of the references, and then on some of the stuff I had to ask about because I haven't been playing D&D that long. But it's an enjoyable film. This was a good one. I don't own this one. I think I will eventually though. Um, it's just it wasn't. I haven't been as good as I used to be. I used to be really good at keeping track of video releases, like for physical media, but then it got to where I just didn't. Things have changed, and I don't know. I haven't kept up with it like I should. So that is something I've decided to do is when a movie that I just saw in theaters or a movie I know is about to come out, I'm starting to look up the release dates when it comes out on home physical media because they're selling out quick. And now that I'm going after the better picture quality with 4K or steelbooks or whatever, 4K or 4K steelbooks, whichever I can get, I need to be there like day one to get these films, right? So D&D is one of those films I saw in theaters and just sort of was seeing other things and didn't get to the store in time to get that one when it first came out. Next up is Renfield. I saw this just 7 days after D&D. So there was a point where I saw two movies within 2 weeks. And Renfield is funny. Nicolas Cage as Dracula was hilarious. It's not what I expected. I highly enjoyed this film. It is one I will probably buy. They have the scenes where they're in like therapy session, kind of like group therapy, counseling kind of thing, like a group thing. And it's really funny when everyone's talking about their problems and Renfield comes in, just talks about like all the stuff going on, and everyone just looks at him like, what? But this was really enjoyable. My friend that was with me doesn't really care for cussing as much, but yeah, I thought it was great. It was highly entertaining, and Nicolas Cage wasn't in the film as much, but the main star, once again, names was great, and I truly felt the character fit him just perfectly. Next up, we have Scream 6. I saw this March 12th of 23, and as I was having surgery, I had to wait to see this one for a little bit, but Scream 6, I bought it right away. When it came out, I bought it on 4K. I wanted the Steelbook, and what happened was Walmart was sold out of the Steelbook, so I just ended up getting the regular 4K. And then 3 days later, I saw the Steelbook at Best Buy. Now I kind of regret it. That's why I need to do more research when I buy physical media, because I'll end up buying it the first chance I get rather than do my research to see like what's getting what release, that sort of thing. But Scream 6, great film. I have probably rewatched this one more than any of the others. I think I've watched the first one, I think I've seen twice. I think I've seen the second one once, the third one once, the fourth one twice, the fifth one twice, because I've watched with friends, and then the sixth one like maybe 3 times. There's something about it. They go to New York, so they desperately needed a change of scenery, right? Like Woodsboro, they were sort of, I think, running out of places to go with these films after five, especially because they go back to the original house. I mean, how do you top that? So they go to New York, and there were moments where I'm like, okay, okay, they're dead. You can stop, you know. There were stuff like that that happened where I just kind of was like, all right. But this had a good combo of horror, comedy, drama, action, suspense. The core four, am I right? The core four. It's all about the core four and Chad, Mindy, Lack of Sleep, man, Lack of Sleep. Uh, Chad, Mindy, Sam, and Tara. Your core four. They're great, and everybody was great in this. It was good to see Kirby back. It was good to have Gail back, and all the new additions were great. This cast was phenomenal. It was great, but I love the core four. I love Mindy and her like analyzing things like Randy did. She's great. Chad really grew as a character in this film. You see his relationship with, I almost said Wednesday, with Tara develop, and I really like that. It doesn't feel forced, it feels natural, and those two together are great. But the core four is awesome. Big fan of all four of them. Core four up high. Get that. I like when she's like, "Get that thing away from me." It's just funny. Like there, and then the kills are brutal. Like there's one that involves a ladder on an upper floor of an apartment, and I'm like, oh, it was so brutal, you know. But that apartment scene was just great. The way they shot that, I watched the bonus features of how they did like the. If you get a chance, watch the bonus features. There's a bonus feature about the subway, how they did it, because they went to New York to get the intel, then they went back to Canada to film, and this film was great. And honestly, this may be with everything going on with Scream 7, this might be it actually. Like I personally don't want to see 7 if they're not bringing back the cast of 6. I wanted to see where it was going. My theory was that Tara and Sam's mom was going to be revealed to be one of the final big bads in Seven, and that there was never a phone clone in Scream 5, that Stu Macher was the one that actually got in, and he's been dating Tara and Sam's mom this whole time. Like, I was really hoping for that. That was just a theory, though. I don't, that was an idea I had for the seventh film, was to have Stu and Tara and Sam's mom be the main two killers. But this was a great film. Ortega stands out with her acting abilities. Melissa Barrera, amazing as playing Sam, the older sister. Like, I really like her journey as we go through this film. Oh my god. So when my friend and I watched this together after it came out, like on home media, I'd seen it twice in theaters, right? I went with three friends and then with one friend at a different time. So one of my friends came over that we watched it together in person at home. It's where you're able to talk during the movie. And when it shows the shrine to Ghostface, we were he was like, pause it, pause it. He was like, dude, we got to sit down sometime and see all the different Easter eggs from the different films in here. Like, that was so cool as a Scream fan that they call back. And one thing I love about this franchise too, you've had six films, over the since the 90s. So it's not like a film a year. This is one of those franchises that I feel like one every 3 to 4 years is okay, but we don't need one every year, even 2 years at times. But great film, really enjoyed it. Cannot recommend enough as far as horror goes. Great film. Perfect Addiction. This I saw March 29th of 23. So this would have been, yeah, just a couple of weeks after. I was going a lot in March. Then I think I slowed down a bit. So Perfect Addiction, there's a book by Claudia Tan. I'm a follower of hers on Instagram. She has this group for her music too that I'm a part of, which I love. She's great. She's a great writer, a great singer. But anyways, Perfect Addiction follows a girl played by Kiana Madeira, if I'm saying that right, from Fear Street. She played Dina in Fear Street. She plays the main character in this film. And she is dating a man named Jax, and he cheats on her with her sister. So she decides the only way to get revenge. Sienna Lane, that's who she plays, Sienna Lane. So Sienna decides the only way to get revenge is to train the guy that could possibly defeat Jax, the reigning champion, in a fight. Now, the book does play differently than the film. I didn't mind the way they changed the ending to the film, but I saw the film first. I think I was more forgiving on the ending of the film than I was the book. Had I had read the book first, I may have been went a little bit differently with it. But even thinking about it now, though, I want to rewatch it now just because of that perspective. It's still a really good film. It was well acted. Um, Kiana is just so raw, right? Like, if you haven't seen her stuff, I highly recommend it. Trinkets, the Fear Street trilogy. She plays these raw, tough, edgy characters so well, and that's something, if I could ever ask her, would be like, does she just find herself naturally gravitated toward these characters who have a lot of emotion and have been through a lot? Like, is that just her thing? Because she does it so naturally and so well and just so raw to where you believe it every time. But this was a good film. They did a limited release. I was supposed to go to one theater to see it, but they canceled their showing for some reason. So I ended up going to another town, like an hour away, just to see it because I'm such a big fan of hers. So my friend and I went, and there was one other person in there. That was it, three people, but it was like a random Tuesday or Wednesday. No, it was Wednesday. And yeah, we were the only people in there because it was only a 2 day release. And I don't know if a lot of people heard about it, but it was well worth it. I bought a copy as soon as it came out on DVD. They didn't come out on Blu ray or 4K, but it went straight to DVD pretty much after the couple of days. It was on streaming too. That's part of the reason why a lot of people didn't go to theaters. They chose, but I wanted to see it on the big screen. Story's great, a lot of drama. The fight sequences are good. They had to train pretty hard for it when I watched the behind the scenes stuff. Very good film. Highly recommend. Definitely one of my favorites. It's a great film from this year. Next up is Wonka. This was the last film I saw this year, and I was pleasantly surprised by this. Well, the trailer looked like they were going to go differently with it. There is a lot of singing and a lot of music in this, and there has been some criticism about the main character, Timothy Chalamet, off singing off key. I'm not a singer myself, so I did not have criticism of the singing. I thought the story had some fun moments, some heartfelt moments, some really funny moments, some really sad moments. It had a little bit of everything, and I was highly entertained throughout the whole film. And there were just a lot of interesting things. Will I buy it? I don't know. Not because it is a great film, but I don't know how many times I would rewatch it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you see a film, you're like, this is really good, but you don't know if it's one you would watch over and over again. So I'm kind of, we'll see. If I see it on shelves and it appeals to me that day, I might end up getting it. But as of now, I'm kind of on the fence on it. Not because anything's wrong with it. I definitely recommend seeing it once, but it's one of those films that I don't think you need to rewatch over and over and over, if that makes sense. A lot of those movies, or there's some movies like that where you watch it once, you say, I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to watch it over and over. So good film. I give it a thumbs up. Last Voyage of the Dettmere. This was a pleasant surprise. I went with a friend of mine who wanted to see this, and horror, action, that sort of thing, suspense. Uh, they did a good job with the vampire. Really good job. They're taking this cargo and they find out that they have Dracula on board later. Good film. I enjoyed it for what it was. It didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't overly long. And it was, I believe, rated R. I saw this one. I can't tell; it's kind of faded here, but I saw this one with a friend. I enjoyed it. Oh, August 23. I enjoyed it. Good movie, I think, to watch once. Not one I'm gonna buy. They did enough. It was good enough, right? So they did unique things. I found myself watching a few sequels, but then I'm starting to also realize that I sometimes enjoy some of these movies where they're just standalone, where there's not going to be sequels. This was a good film based on one little piece of Dracula, right? One little, like, small piece that's hinted at, alluded to, and they make a whole story out of it. So that part was intriguing to me. That was cool. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the vampire. I enjoyed the storytelling. Not one I have my personal collection. Is it my style? Yeah, kind of. But they don't do anything so unique to the point that it justifies me paying 20 to 30 bucks to add it to my personal collection here. So I would say watch it once, decide for yourself. Maybe you have a different perspective, and that's cool. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it's not one that I'm going to go to my friends all the time, be like, oh my God, you got to hear about the greatest movie I've ever seen. It's not in that conversation. So I would say it's good. All right, and last one, Transformers. It cuts off the title, but oh, Rise of the Beast. Right. Transformers Rise of the Beast. I saw this one June 10th of 23. Really enjoyed it. Highly enjoyed it. Takes place in the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. 90s, you know, uh comedy, action, just great. It was good to see the Transformers again. It had been a while. Make sure you watch after the end credits. They are setting up some other stuff for the future. That's all I'll say. Very good film. The cars are awesome as always. The fighting sequences are fantastic. The story was highly enjoyable. I bought this on 4K. They had a sale at Best Buy for like 10 bucks around Thanksgiving, Black Friday time. 10 bucks, 4K. Normally would be 30, 10 bucks. Great film for 10 bucks. It was a steal. What else it's a great soundtrack. Like I said, I love the 90s, so that was really cool. There's a lot of throwbacks with some of the stuff, like how people act, that sort of thing. That was really interesting to see. The cars, their attitude, their wit was great. The main two characters did a really good job. One of the main characters has a younger brother, and then the other girl is studying things. She's like an archaeologist, but she's studying things, and or she works like in a museum or something. She's studying these artifacts and stuff, ancient things. And it's really cool the way they did this film. This is one I want to rewatch because I have a friend of mine that's only seen one of the Transformers films. We're definitely going to have to do a Transformers Day. I'm probably going to end up getting the 4K box set that's out. The only one they don't have in the box set is Last Night, and since or Rise of the Beast, I should say. And I already have that one on 4K. So if I get the rest of the set, then I can have all of them on 4K, but it's definitely a series that I think I will rewatch soon. Great film. So, let me go over what I thought was best movie. Transformers, good film. Last Voyage, The Detmere, okay to watch once. Wonka, good film. Scream 6, amazing film. Renfield, good film. Dungeons and Dragons, good film. Haunted Mansion, good film. Gran Turismo, really good film. Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, great film. Guardians 3, great film. Insidious The Red Door, good film. Oppenheimer, good. Perfect Addiction, amazing. Good, great. Okay, so I'm going to give my favorite movie from 2023 to Scream 6, although Guardians 3 is the runner up. Favorite actor of the films I saw, I will go with. Let's see here. As much as I enjoyed some of these films, I'm going to go with um, Bradley Cooper as Rocket in Guardians 3. He had a lot of emotional weight with his acting and his characters. I really liked his performance in that. It just stood out to me as I'm looking at these others. There's a lot of great actors in here, but he was my favorite. It was between him and the lead of Oppenheimer. Those two. I'll give it. Yeah, those two are my top two. Actress, it's a tie. It's a tie. Runner up, honorable mention, whatever you want to call it, I will give to Jasmine Savoy, who plays Mindy in Scream 6. She's great. Rocks it as always. Love her. Amazing actress. 10 out of 10. Cannot recommend enough. Um, for Best Actress, my tie is between Jenna Ortega, who is my. Keanu Madeira is my second favorite actress right now. Jenna Ortega is my number one. So Jenna Ortega, great as Tara. She did great. She killed it. She was amazing in Scream 6. So I have to give it to her and Melissa Barrera. Melissa Barrera as Sam Carpenter was amazing. You can't think about one without the other, right? So the Carpenter sisters, to me, stood out head and shoulders above the rest with their back and forth, the way they bond, the way they connect on screen. You really feel like they could be sisters based on their performance. So I go with those two for that reason. I highly enjoyed the girl from Wonka as well. She was great. There were a lot of good performances, and Kiana Madeira also gets an honorable mention. But yeah, I got to go with Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera as my favorite actresses from 2023. There are a lot of films I'm looking forward to next year, and I plan on seeing more. Um, Once again, well wishes to Jack. Hope you get better. Looking forward to you getting better. And like I said, just well wishes to him. I hope everything goes well, but he's like a brother to me, and honestly, I just really hope that things go okay for him. Um, Thank you for tuning in. I really felt like this was a fun video. I got to talk about movies with you guys. I like talking to you. Leave a comment. What were your favorite movies of 2023? Maybe you saw some I didn't. There were many films I didn't get to due to either my surgery, timing wise, or maybe it just came out at a bad time and I had a lot going on in my own life. But yeah, there were a lot of films I missed, obviously, and that doesn't mean I won't go back and watch films from 2023 that people talk about. So leave me comments. What did I miss? What were some films I didn't see? I didn't see Barbie, not because I don't think I wouldn't like it. It's just not my type of film. I have nothing against it though. I think it's great. People enjoy it. It just wasn't one I was going to go out of my way to see. Indiana Jones came out at kind of a weird time for me. Um, the Marvels, I actually do like. I like Brie Larson, but it came out at a weird time. It felt like this year had too many films competing with each other, and you could have been at the cinema every week and still not seen everything, right? There were just too many films. And so in 2024, actually, while we're here, I am going to, you know what? I'll talk to you guys soon about the my most anticipated 2024 films. Take care.